For many people, faith is something that you just accept and not anything that you truly reflect over. But the Quran and Islam is different to that. Islam doesn't fear questions, it invites them. Islam wants us to think and to reflect in a deep way, to have a faith or have a way of thinking that reflects the reality of the human being. So today we're going to look at this. Why does Islam encourage us to think? The first point, question number one, we have to understand the Quran repeatedly asks us to think. The Quran is full of questions, and questions immediately force you to think. Someone asks you a question, you now have to think. You now have to focus on this. And this is not because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wants answers from us, but He wants us to begin the process of thinking. Yeah, like, have you not considered this? Have you not reflected upon the mountains, or whatever it might be? All of these questions invite us to think for ourselves. So therefore, it's training us to become intelligent. It's training us to become reflective. And ultimately, this is what Islam wants. Islam wants a heart that believes and a mind that truly understands. Secondly, questions lead to conviction, not weakness. So some people fear asking questions. They'll feel that if they ask certain questions, this is it's as if it's a sign of a lack of certainty or weak faith. But no, it's the opposite. Yeah, the prophets used to ask questions. Yeah, the companions used to ask questions. This wasn't a problem. Like the famous example in the Quran of Sayyidina Ibrahim alayhi salam, where he says, show me how you give life to the kayfa tuhil mauta. Show me how do you give life to the dead, to the dead. This wasn't because he doubted Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. I know he wanted an increase in his depth of certainty. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave him the answer. Questions strengthen faith. In fact, we can't learn without questions. Two types of people who don't learn. Number one, the person who's too arrogant, and number two, the person who's too shy. And what is the commonality between these two people? None of them ask questions. The arrogant person doesn't ask questions because he thinks he knows everything. The shy person is too shy to ask questions, and therefore none of these two people can learn. Number three, the Prophet ﷺ encouraged questions, even bold ones. The Prophet ﷺ, he was asked everything. Whatever topic you can think of, whether it was matters of belief, whether it was personal struggles, whether there was questions about doubt or confusion or curiosity. And he continued to answer these questions. That people would ask questions that will we be judged for our thoughts? Yeah? Like, does Allah hear us when we whisper? People ask them the most extraordinary of questions. Am I a hypocrite? All of these different questions. The Prophet ﷺ would always and constantly respond in the best of ways. Right? Islam so the next thing now, Islam differentiates between different types of questions. There's two types of questions here. The first type of question is a question that seeks clarity. This is a sincere question. This is a question which comes from a desire to understand. The second type of question is a question that seeks argument. These are questions that are rooted in arrogance, mockery, or defiance. In other words, these are questions where the person feels like they already know the answer, and they're asking just to provoke and just to argue and just to defy. And these are not productive, yeah, because you're not going to get any result from this. Like, the question could be answered, but the person will never accept your answer because their heart is already closed. So we have to understand the differences between questions. This is the difference between what we call simple ignorance and compounded ignorance. Questions protect you from blind imitation. Yeah, if you look in the Quran, one of the common themes in the Quran is the people of that time are criticized for blindly following those who came before them. Yeah? They just blindly follow. Why? Because if we don't actually ask questions and we don't actually analyze things for ourselves, then our iman will always remain weak. Yeah, our faith will always remain weak because it's unexamined. So when a difficulty comes along, we're just gonna, fall away. We're not gonna have that intellectual rigor and certainty. Yeah, so true belief is based upon understanding, and understanding can only come through thinking and reflecting and asking questions. Number 6, a thinking faith builds stronger hearts. When faith is truly understood, instead of just memorized, it becomes alive. When you truly understand it, your prayer will become different, you will see the world different, your approach will become different. So therefore, thinking faith, like a faith that is based upon thinking, has depth, and it carries this level of depth and allows you to face a variety of challenges. So in conclusion, then, we have to understand that Thinking is part of worship. Worship is not simply fasting or prayer or remembering Allah, but rather worship is thinking, reflecting, seeking meaning. Because a mind that's connected to the Quran and that's connected to revelation is always going to create a believer capable of navigating through anything in life, any type of challenge or hardship that we face.